For those of you that enjoy that retro game experience and love the darker futuristic settings, then Moonrider may be something you're looking for. Moonrider is a super soldier that was created for the sole purpose of upholding an authoritarian regime. However, they did not expect the robot soldier to push back against his intended purpose. Once Moonrider breaks free from his containment, he pursues justice by taking on his fellow super soldiers who are abiding the regime's wishes. So now you know the plot and you know the mission, but to see if this game could be for you, tune into my thoughts on Vengeful Guardian, Moonrider. I originally saw the trailer a few months back and was immediately captivated by the setting and look of the game. You'll find yourself in a variety of locations that range from weapons facilities to aerial fleets all the way to some lost ruins. My favorite aspect of these stages are that they're layered, so instead of kicking off the level and remaining in the same looking setting the entire time, you'll usually fight a mini-boss and then you'll proceed to a different part of that stage. Probably one of my favorite examples of this is in the Lost Ruins, as you begin outside and work your way down, where you'll end up finding what seems to be a parasitic organism that has affected the facility as well as the water that surrounds it. And each level is also full of some solid background elements that really help bring the game to life. In addition to new looks constantly being thrown at you, each stage also carries at least 2 themes to complement the change of pace and setting. And speaking of themes, I think the soundtrack in Moonrider is fantastic and really brings out that techno sound from the 80s and 90s. Now, something that I did not expect was the layout of the main hub, as it's reminiscent to the fan favorite Mega Man. By no means is Moonrider similar to Mega Man, but you are able to choose which level to play at any given point, and you'll get a glimpse of the fellow super soldiers that will meet you at the end of each stage. I also appreciated that each level is given a little backstory as to what it is and who's guarding it. It's not much, but it does help build the world. And something that I think helps the world building is the placement and design of the enemies. You'll find a variety of enemies throughout each level. While some are neutral and can be found anywhere, others are specific to that location, such as these infected soldiers who do a ton of damage. The atmosphere in Moonrider is consistent with the darker futuristic setting, however, the music helps give it that retro feel. And just because it's in a darker setting, it does not mean that there aren't some lively parts to it as well. Now, besides the atmosphere giving off that retro aesthetic, the gameplay is also familiar to many of the hack and slash platformers of the 90s. However, you can expect to find a much faster paced game in Moonrider, as it feels great to basically sprint through a stage if you're good enough. There's a solid balance of platforming and combat, as a lot of the enemies require some smooth dodging and more than one hit to kill, and many of the platforming obstacles involve evading projectiles or hazards that are unique to that stage. For example, in Asura's fleet, you have to dodge incoming lasers while jumping ship to ship, and as you're jumping ship to ship, they start to fall apart. Each stage has its own set of challenges for you to pass, which kept the experience fresh for me. The combat involves 3 attacks. You have your standard combo, you can do a dive kick in the air, or you can use one of your special abilities which you unlock from defeating bosses. Each one is unique from the other, however, you can choose the one that suits your playstyle the best. If you ever find yourself struggling, it could be a good time to use a power module that you can find scattered throughout the stages. They're usually somewhat hidden and can require some harder platforming challenges if you are wanting to obtain them. I enjoyed using the module that gave me a double jump and the one that allows me to change strength based off killing enemies. You can only equip 2, so do choose wisely. I personally did not find the game overly challenging, but the modules definitely helped me on many occasions. But I'm also not a speedrunner or a completionist, as you can see my ranking after beating some of these stages, so they definitely reward both score and speed. And something that will surely halt you from speeding through the stages are the surplus amount of bosses you encounter in Moonrider. I went in knowing the amount of stages, but I did not know that each level would be layered and hold multiple bosses. And no, it's not just one mini boss, you could find up to around 4 bosses during a single level. The bosses primarily consist of some twisted robotic designs that can be pretty creepy, but they also have the other robot soldiers which act like the guardians of their designated stages. And something I love about these ones is a little monologue they give before you fight them, and then they say something like this.
伝統をないがしろにする奴らを排除するのは私たちの役目ですので。
Where the build up for these encounters was great, I will say I was not overly impressed with the challenge. A lot of them lose health quickly, and if you manage to evade a few attacks, you might be able to make quick work of them. But they are fast, so you have to do a good job understanding when you can and can't attack, and due to the life-based system in Moonrider, you do not want to expire all your lives or you'll have to restart from the beginning of the second half of the stage. Now, one boss that had me constantly running out of lives is the final one, which I'm not going to spoil, so be ready for that. And despite the bosses not being overly challenging for the most part, I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of unique designs and movesets they gave for each one. Moonrider has you pursuing the authoritarian government and their super soldiers in order to bring peace to the world. Along your journey, you can expect to tackle plenty of unique stages and the obstacles, secrets, and bosses that each one carries. If you're a speedrunner, then you can test yourself to see if you can get that S ranking on each stage. So if you're a person that enjoys a plentiful amount of boss fights, some beautiful lively pixel art, and a retro styled sound and feel, then I highly recommend checking out Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. I played this on the Switch with the SNES controller for that authentic experience, which I always recommend. I'd like to thank the developers Joymasher and the publishers The Arcade Crew for granting me early access for their title so I could get this review out on time. This was my first early access video, so I'm hoping for more to come after, as I'm trying to grow my channel around indie games more than anything else. So let me know your thoughts on Moonrider in the comments below, and if you like content like this, then I hope to see you around. So until next time.